everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault. Once again, I'm coming to you with another range report. And today's range report is on a really cool Ruger 10/22, something I had no idea existed until I got to my friend Jack's house. You guys have heard me talk about Jack many times, and I've shot almost his entire collection. I was over at his house, dropping off some firearms that I reviewed, and he just, you gotta look at this. It's a Ruger 10/22 made to look like an M1 carbine. So at the heart of this, it's just a basic old 10/22. But the outside, it looks like something from World War II and one of the greatest rifles America has ever fielded, the M1 carbine. Now, of course, this is not chambered in .30 carbine. It is chambered in .22 long rifle. As I said, the internal components of this is just a Ruger 10/22. Now, I want to thank all the people, as always, that make these videos possible. First and foremost is somebody I have already mentioned. That is my friend Jack. Jack, thank you so much for lending this to the channel and giving me the big surprise of getting to shoot this. I want to thank my Patreons, as always, because their monthly support helps keep the lights on around here. You guys know YouTube is always demonetizing firearms channels like my own. And as always, I want to thank the person that makes all of these range reports possible because of the donated ammunition, and that is my friend Mark from Brownworks. You guys hear me talk about Brownworks in every one of my range reports. Brownworks is a company that makes fine custom wood grips out of a wide variety of materials, can finish them in a wide variety of ways, put on custom logos, etchings, and engravings. He can even make laminate woods. There's so much that he can do. He is a master craftsman, and I'm telling you, everybody that's a subscriber here that has bought some Brownworks grips has emailed me and said how impressed they are with the fine grips that Mark over there can make. And as I also mentioned, he's the reason that I can shoot all these amazing guns because he helps provide all of the ammunition. So he supports the Texas Gun Vault, and so I ask you, if you want to support the Texas Gun Vault, go over to Brownworks, check out his website, see what he makes that you might be interested in, and if there's something there that you don't see that you would like for him to see if he can make, go ahead and contact him. He'll get right back to you. He has amazing customer service, and I guarantee you he will hook you up with something special. I'm going to put a link in the description and pin as a comment. Go over there, click that. As I said, go check out his website, and I'm also going to put a discount code over there for 10% off your first order. So once again, please go over to Brownworks, support him because he supports me, and when you do, tell him the Texas Gun Vault sent you. All right, so what is this rifle? I've already given you a few details about it. Well, I looked this up online, and according to Ruger's website, this was a special edition rifle that was made on behest of a distributor called TALO. Now, I'm very familiar with TALO because they have worked with companies like Colt in the past to produce special limited run 1911s, and I own a few of those. Well, they've worked with other companies, and they wanted to work with Ruger and said, hey, we really think it'd be cool to have an M1 carbine looking rifle, but uses the Ruger 10/22 platform. Now, I was actually recently reading an article about the 10/22, and somebody said that this might be the greatest rifle ever made. Now, I know that's kind of a contentious thing to say because we have people that love the AK and love the AR, and this is just a .22 long rifle. But someone said this might be the most ubiquitous rifle in the United States. I know the AR is America's rifle, but a lot of people grew up shooting the 10/22. It's been around for a long time, and it's so modular. It is just so well known, and a lot of people get to shoot it as their first firearm. So they argue it's the greatest rifle ever built. Now, I might not subscribe to that, but it definitely is a really cool rifle, even though I'm not always the biggest fan of Ruger. So that's what this rifle is. So let's talk about the things that I like and don't like about it. Well, first and foremost, we have to talk about the look of this rifle. This rifle just looks absolutely fantastic. It even has the cutout in the stock for, I guess, what was originally the sling and the oil bottle for the M1 carbine. It just has that right look, that right finish. Now, there are, of course, things that look a little bit different. Obviously, the mechanism for the M1 carbine's different, but you do get that aesthetic look. I really like the finish of this stock, too. It's not as refined as the standard 10/22 wood stocks that you could get at your local store. It's a little bit rougher, and I think it's that way on purpose because the M1 carbine wasn't a finely finished rifle. It was good enough for the military, and that's the kind of finish that they put on here. In the color, it really looks like an M1 carbine. So the wood on this isn't necessarily smooth and perfectly lacquered. It's a little bit rough. It's nice, but it has that right look, and I can really appreciate that. And then, of course, it's the fact that this is also a 10/22, and that's something I really like, because I like the 10/22, even though I'm not the biggest fan of Ruger. In many ways, it's like the Lego for adults. Many people say that about the AR-15, but the 10/22 is exactly the same way. In fact, I brought out my personal 10/22 build that I did a while back, and you guys have seen this on the channel for a number of different reviews. The only thing on this particular rifle that is made by Ruger is the receiver. Everything else is made by other performance center companies that do precision work on the 10/22, but it just shows off how modular and how unique you can build a 10/22. I don't think Bill Ruger had this idea in concept when he designed the 10/22, and like Eugene Stoner and the AR-15, it just simply evolved over time. And so we can build really cool guns like this, and this is a 10/22. So that's the things I really like about it. And of course, many of the comments that I'm going to make are standard 10/22 comments. I mean, you guys have probably shot one and probably own one. So I'm just trying to stick my comments to just what this particular rifle is. So now let's talk about the things that I don't like. Well, one thing I noticed when I had it here on the table that I wasn't a big fan of is how tight these magazines fit in this mag well. Now, this is something that I think is quality control issues at Ruger, because I actually did a video a long time ago when I was the Fort Worth Colt guy about Ruger 10/22 magazines wobbling. I owned two Ruger 10/22s at that time, and both of them, the magazines would wobble. And I was trying to figure out ways of fixing that. Well, I eventually got rid of those rifles because I just didn't like that. Well, this one actually is a little bit too stiff. That mag well is a little bit too tight. And I know it's because of the receiver and the trigger group. They can be a little bit off from rifle to rifle, and that lockup on this one is just a little bit tight. Now, does that mean every single one of these M1 Carbine look-alike 10/22s has this problem? No, this is just the example that I have. Now, another thing about this rifle that I kind of like, but I don't like when I really look at them closely, is the sights. They did a really nice job of giving us some M1 Carbine look-alike sights. So there you go. You have that front sight there with the little wings on the side. I know that's hard to get into focus. Sorry about that. But you also have a little peep sight in the back, a little ghost ring, I guess we would call it. Now, I have to say that they look great and they kind of look stock to the M1 Carbine. However, the one in the back, it's really hard to see. Now, I have really good eyesight, like better than 20/20. I've always been blessed with really good eyesight. And I actually find it really difficult to see the front sight and the rear sight at the same time. I kind of lose the rear sight when I'm focused on the front sight. So I have a problem really seeing through these. And I also noticed that the front sight on this is canted a little bit to the left. At first, I thought it was just an optical illusion because of the top of the stock, but I have definitely looked at it and it is canted a little bit to the left. Just a little bit, but it's enough where the OCD in me comes out and goes, it's not right. Now, I'm sure you can adjust it because these front sights are adjustable. You can adjust things in the back, but it would bother me if this was my rifle. It would definitely be going back to Ruger. It's not bad, but I definitely think, once again, Ruger could do better with their quality control. I don't think many people are gonna have an issue with it, but I just notice it because I am simply that picky. And the final thing that I'm not a big fan of, and this goes for all 10/22s, and I really wish that somebody would figure out a mechanism for this. I wish these rifles had a last round hold open. So when you empty the magazine on any 10/22, the bolt just goes home and you hear a click. It's not that big of a deal, and it's just the way it's always been. But with all the modularity of this gun and all the accessories that people have ever come up for this gun, you would really think that by now they would have come up with a device for that, and they just never have. And this is something I wish that they could figure out. But that's a small gripe and has to deal with 10/22s across the board. All right, so I've talked a lot, so let's get this rifle to the range. Let's see how it shoots. So I'm gonna set up the target at 10 yards. I'm gonna load up one of these BX-15 magazines right here, and this is the one that came with the rifle. We're gonna shoot it, we're gonna see how it shoots, and as you can see now, I'm having a little bit of issue getting that magazine back in there. I told you, it's a little bit tight. It's not as easy as it is on my other rifle build over here. So you saw that in real time. But we're gonna get this rifle to the range, as I said, 15 rounds, 10 yards. I'm just curious how it's gonna shoot. All right, so what did I discover about this rifle? Well, first and foremost, it shoots a little bit high, and that's probably because of the sights. But I will tell you, I forgot to bring the adjustment tool for the rear sight. It's just an Allen wrench. I should have brought that, but I don't think it would really matter because when you're looking through this rear peep sight, you don't really see it when you're focused on that front blade. It's not a very good sighting system in my opinion as compared to maybe a stock 1022. It does have this nice rail on the top if you wanted to put some type of red dot on it or maybe a scope, but that wouldn't look authentic with an M1 carbine. As for the trigger, I have to say this is kind of a blah trigger. Now, this goes back to some of the quality control issues with Ruger. I've shot 1022s that have exceptional triggers right out of the box, and I've shot some that are kind of blah. Well, this one is kind of blah. It kind of has a long pull, the reset's kind of weird. I don't like it as much, and I know that you can buy a replacement for these. It's supposed to be kind of an upgraded option right from Ruger. That might be something that I would do if this was my particular rifle, but for me, the trigger is kind of blah. I kind of expect it to be a little bit better with the 1022 and the quality that I expect from Ruger. It's definitely functional, but it's not great. The last thing that I liked about this rifle when I shot it is this is the first gun in a very long time I have been able to use my Federal 22 long rifle ammo. I have this bulk box of Federal kind of target ammo, and no semi-automatic 22 gun of any type, pistol or rifle, can cycle this stuff, but this gun can, and that's something that the 1022 has always been known for, its reliability. So I'm really happy I'm able to use this Federal ammunition, so it seems to feed the stuff that other guns can't seem to take. So I give that a lot of positive marks in my book. All right, well, I want to see if I can adjust for this gun shooting a little bit high. So I'm going to give it another shot, put the target back at 10 yards, and see if I can get this group any better. So I had to aim really low. The group is still pretty darn good, but of course it's only 10 yards, but I'm having to aim a lot lower than what I really want to. And I'm telling you, these magazines, especially at the range, they just don't go in this gun that easy. You gotta get it in there just the right way for them to lock in. That's kind of annoying. So I don't know if quick magazine changes are gonna be an option with this. But I know that I'm going to aim a lot lower. So now we're going to do what I call the accuracy portion. And I know, as always, I have to give a little caveat here. I know this is not going to be a bench resting of this rifle. This is just to see if I put the target out at 25 yards, going more than double the distance, what's going to happen to my group when I shoot this thing offhand. At 25 yards, I'm expecting a pretty decent group. So I'm going to put a new target up. I'm going to go for center mass, see how I do. This is going to be 25 yards, another 15 rounds. And at further distance, the point of impact and the point of aim become even bigger. So I'm aiming really low in this target and it's still going high and to the right. So I'm just having some issues with this, but the grouping is still pretty good. Not the best, but I would definitely have to upgrade the sights if this was my particular rifle. Now, the next thing I want to do is the obligatory mag dump. Yeah, I'm just going to get to the fun stuff. These Ruger 1022s are supposed to be just fun range guns. And, you know, there was a version of the M1 called the M2, which was in full auto. Now, this, of course, is not full auto, but can I pull this trigger fast? I'm kind of worried that I can't because, as I said, this is not the best trigger I've ever shot in a 1022. But let's see how I do just trying to shoot 25 rounds as fast as I possibly can. This trigger definitely takes a little bit of getting used to. As you saw, it took me a while to create a rhythm with it. The reset on this is kind of long and it's kind of clunky, but once I got it going, it was okay. And I was happy that all the shots were center mass, just shooting as fast as I possibly could. So it's fun. You can't deny it. It's still a fun rifle. They're fun to shoot fast, and probably with a really nice upgraded trigger, it'd be even better. Well, now I want to give my wife Becky a shot. I'm really curious to see what she's going to think about this. Normally, she likes the more tactical firearms like I do myself. This is a little bit more traditional looking, so her thoughts might be a little bit different than what I'm expecting. But let's see how she does and what she says. So she shot it a little bit high as well, but I think the main issue she had with this rifle is the fact it did not fit her body. It kind of has a longer length of pull, and it's not adjustable. You know, we've gotten a little bit spoiled with modern guns with telescoping stocks, even though anti-gunners say they're evil features of assault weapons. Well, I actually think they make the guns more safe because you can tailor the size of the gun to the shooter, and therefore they don't have to feel awkward when shooting it. Well, as I said, the length of pull here is a little bit long for her, and she is cross-eye dominant. So she is left-eye dominant, but right-handed. And so with the sights and the length of pull, it just wasn't very comfortable for her to shoot. And she said she definitely prefers AR-15s chambered in .22 over this particular rifle. So that's just something to take into consideration if you are smaller or cross-eye dominant and looking at this particular rifle. So it was really interesting to get my wife's perspective, and it's why I always ask her to shoot all of these guns. All right, so for the last shooting portion of this video, I'm going to try to bench rest it. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough stuff with me to truly bench rest it, but I'm going to put my bag on the table. I'm going to try to rest my arm against it and get a better group at 25 yards. So I'm hoping that I can get the accuracy of this rifle up. I really want to shoot it well because I shoot other 1022s really well. I shoot this thing fantastically. So I want to do the same with this because I really want one because I think this stock is so freaking cool. But let's see if I can do any better. Well, I promise you, I'm a better shot than that, but this rifle for me is just not very accurate. I can shoot really well with this one. It has a better trigger, and of course with a scope, it's definitely a lot nicer. Now, this thing right here, the way it's set up, it's really cool looking. I just don't shoot it accurate, but that's just me. I know that I shoot standard 10/22s in the traditional stock with the traditional sights pretty well. I thought I would shoot this one better than I did, but I still think it's really cool. So what are my final thoughts on this TALO Edition Ruger 10/22 made to look like an M1 carbine? Well, it's a Ruger 10/22. You can change things out, make things better like the trigger, or I'm assuming the barrel, but of course you're going to want to have that special front sight. And the sights on this is really what I don't like. I have a really hard time seeing this and using it. The front sight is canted, the back side I have a hard time seeing the little peep sight. It doesn't seem to be very accurate for me. Now, I also want to say one thing. Sometimes when I review these guns and I say something about the guns that I don't like or I have a problem with, people will say, well, you're reviewing the wrong gun. You need to get the right gun from Ruger. Well, I can only review the guns that come into the channel that are lent to me to shoot. So, do I think this is an issue across the board? Absolutely not. You may own one of these and absolutely love it, and there's no problems with it whatsoever. All that I can do is document my experiences and share my thoughts. So when I criticize a gun for a particular thing, it does not mean that every gun in this series has that problem, but it could be a quality control issue from the factory. And I think that plays a really important part when it comes to mass-produced guns like the 10/22. But getting back to this particular gun, the coolest thing about it absolutely is the stock. I've always wanted to have an M1 carbine. It's kind of on my list of guns that I want to buy in the future. I don't own one. I've never shot one. But I like the look of this because if I had a real M1 carbine, I'd like to have this as a companion gun just to be able to train with it, to have that hanging on the wall to look at and go, that is really cool. So I give Ruger and TALO a lot of points for being creative in creating this rifle. But beyond that, this particular example does not have great sights, it does not have a very good trigger, and I have a really hard time getting these magazines in and out. And yes, it had to do with every magazine. So here's the BX25. It locks in there, might be a little bit easier because you get more grip on the magazine, but it's just really tight and it kind of is a slow process for me. But it does work. Oh, one last thing before I give you my star rating, and I just remembered this. One thing about the 10/22 platform I've never liked is how difficult it is to disassemble for cleaning. I know, people are going to say you don't have to really detail strip it to clean it, and I know. But after 10, 11 range trips, I really want to get down in here and clean it all out. But you got to take the whole mechanism out of the stock, disassemble the gun, drop the trigger group. It's kind of a labor-intensive process. So cleaning these, especially if you're OCD like me, well, it can get a little bothersome. So that's all the things that I've experienced, like, and don't like about this really cool gun from Ruger. So on my star system, how do I rate the M1 carbine stocked 10/22? Well, I have to give it a lot of points for the aesthetics and its reliability, but when it comes to its accuracy, for me anyway, I don't think it's very good. The trigger, I could do better. I guess I could change that out. But overall, I'm going to give this thing only 3 out of 5 stars. But please listen to me before you trash me in the comments. I actually want one of these. I've actually tried to track one down because they really are cool. A gun doesn't have to be 5 out of 5 stars and hit a home run for me to want to buy one. And I definitely think I would buy one for my collection. They're pretty affordable, but they just look darn cool, and I love military rifles. Well, in this case, a look-alike rifle, especially from World War II. So there you go, 3 out of 5 stars for the M1 carbine stocked Ruger 10/22. What do you guys think? Did you guys even know this rifle existed? Because I didn't know. And I'm really glad that Jack let me borrow it for a review. So thank you so much, Jack, again. It means a lot to me. And it's been a great experience. And who knows, maybe one day I'll find one of these at the right price and I'll pick it up. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.